After her husband left her broken, she walked into a modeling agency and changed her fate forever. The morning air was heavy with silence, the kind that makes you feel like the world is holding its breath before shattering your heart. Amara sat at the kitchen table, her fingers tracing the rim of the teacup she had poured for two. Her husband Daniel had already left for work, or so she thought. When the phone rang, she picked it up with her usual warmth, never expecting her entire world to collapse within minutes. "Mrs. Daniels?" The voice on the other end was soft, almost pitying. "I think you should know. Daniel's been seeing someone. They've gone on a trip together. I thought you deserved the truth." The words slammed into her chest like a hammer. For a moment she couldn't breathe. She looked around the home she had built with him. The framed wedding photo, the flowers she'd arranged just yesterday, the half-written love note she'd planned to slip into his lunch bag. Everything suddenly felt like a lie. When he returned days later, she tried to ask calmly, hoping the rumors were wrong. But Daniel didn't deny it. His eyes were cold, distant, as if the years of shared laughter, dreams, and tears had been erased. "I'm leaving, Amara," he said flatly. "I've found someone new. She understands me better." He packed his things without looking back. The neighbors whispered. Friends avoided her, and Amara's once vibrant smile faded into silence. Days blurred into nights. Bills piled up. The life she'd built, one filled with love, warmth, and plans, crumbled beneath her feet. But deep within her brokenness, something refused to die. Every morning she whispered to herself, "I will not let this destroy me." One rainy afternoon, as she walked past a row of stores, a poster in a window caught her attention. Modeling agency, open call for new faces. She almost laughed. Modeling at her age, after everything she'd lost? But something about that poster stirred her. Maybe it wasn't about modeling, it was about facing herself again. With trembling hands, she wiped her tears and walked inside. The agency was buzzing with energy. Bright lights, polished floors, and a crowd of young, confident women chatting in designer heels. Amara, wearing her modest pink blouse and worn shoes, felt out of place. The receptionist raised an eyebrow but handed her a form anyway. As she waited, whispers rippled through the room. Some of the younger girls laughed under their breath. "She's too old," one murmured. "Even the cleaning staff look more like models." Amara lowered her eyes, pretending not to hear. But the sting of humiliation was sharp. When her turn came, she stepped onto the small stage, heart pounding. The head designer, a tall man in an expensive suit, looked her up and down and smirked. "Even the brooms here are prettier than you," he sneered. The room erupted in laughter. Her hands shook, but she didn't walk away. She stood tall, fighting back tears. "Thank you for your honesty," she said quietly. "But beauty isn't always the first thing you see." Before anyone could respond, the main director entered the room. The laughter died down as he observed the scene. His gaze settled on Amara. "What's your name?" he asked. "Amara," she whispered. He nodded slowly. "Amara, you have dignity, grace, something most people in this room don't even understand." The designer scoffed. "She's no model, sir." The director turned to him sharply. "Tomorrow she starts as our new head designer." The room went silent. The same people who had mocked her moments ago looked stunned. The head designer's face turned pale. Amara couldn't believe what she heard. "Sir, I think there's a mistake," she began. "There's no mistake," the director said firmly. "Your posture, your presence, it's leadership. We need someone who understands struggle and elegance at once." Tears filled her eyes, not of sadness this time, but gratitude. That night, for the first time in months, Amara smiled at her reflection. She wasn't broken anymore. She was rising. Her first day as head designer was nothing short of a test. The same people who had laughed at her now worked under her supervision, their pride quietly bruised. But Amara didn't seek revenge. She sought excellence. She arrived early, sketched designs until midnight, and treated everyone, even those who mocked her, with respect. Slowly, the studio's energy changed. Her authenticity drew people in. Her ideas, rooted in culture, emotion, and resilience, brought life to the brand in ways no one had seen before. The agency's fashion show that season was a turning point. Her collection, titled Phoenix, was inspired by rebirth, vibrant reds, soft pinks, and flowing fabrics symbolizing fire and renewal. When the lights dimmed and the models walked the runway, the audience fell silent in awe. The applause at the end was thunderous. Cameras flashed. Reporters rushed forward. One journalist asked, "What inspired your designs?" Amara smiled softly. "Pain did. But pain doesn't destroy. It transforms, if you let it." The next morning, her face was on magazine covers. The woman who rose from betrayal to beauty. Invitations poured in from across the country. Weeks later, at a charity gala, she unexpectedly crossed paths with Daniel. He looked thinner, older, worn down by guilt and regret. His new relationship had fallen apart. He approached her slowly. "Amara," he said, voice trembling, "I made a terrible mistake." She looked at him calmly. There was no anger left in her, only peace. "No, Daniel," she said gently. "You made a choice, and so did I." He lowered his head. "You look different." "I am different," she replied, smiling. "You left me broken, but I found myself in the pieces." That night, she stood on her balcony, looking at the city lights. Life hadn't gone as she planned, but maybe it had gone as it needed to. She realized her story wasn't about revenge or validation. It was about rediscovering the woman she had always been. Strong, graceful, unstoppable. And as the wind brushed her face, Amara whispered to herself, "The laughter stopped that day, but my voice began. Woe Sister Sephora Channel style."